So here's another little status update on the project that we've been working on our Craft Hour streams that we do every Monday and Wednesday on this channel. We're working on a website called Emacs-packages.com, which as of right now has not actually been published, but will be sometime soon, which is intended to index all of the available Emacs packages that are listed on package archives like ELPA, non-GNU ELPA, MELPA, etc., and possibly other locations. So that you can go to one location, one website to learn about all of the available Emacs packages and get useful information like tips from other users about how to use those packages, which packages are more commonly used together, listings of who wrote what packages, etc. There's all kinds of things we could do with it. It's just kind of a fun project that we've been working on and a really good way to use Guile's scheme to write a real-world web application. So this past week, we've worked on a number of things. In fact, I think I probably need to talk about a few of the other days as well, because I think the last summary video ended right before the Wednesday stream. So yeah, so what we've been doing in the last week is mainly being focused on synchronizing information from the existing package archives. As I mentioned before, we were currently able to take all the package information from GNU ELPA and non-GNU ELPA and load them into a SQLite database that we've created schemas for so that we can then use it to display on our own website that we've been working on. The format for these package archive sites is fairly standard. It can be a little bit messy, but it's fairly standard. So if we were to look up the ELPA GNU org package archive contents, so if you go to elpa.gnu.org/packages/archive contents, maybe a little bit hard to see on the screen, it's basically just a big S expression with A lists and vectors and a lot of other good information in there. So if you download this file using an HTTP client API and then read it in using a Lisp reader or a scheme reader, then you can process this as if it's Lisp data. And that's basically what we did. We wrote some code in the package archive.scm file, which is able to go and download those archive contents files from the various repositories and then parse all the information and then basically created a record type to store all the information so that can be used elsewhere in the code base to consume the information, then turn it into our own internal data model for how packages are represented. So if you were to go over to the package.scm file, you can see that we've got a separate record type here, or actually a series of record types for things like the package information, the authors of a package, whether they're authors or maintainers, and also the source for the package, because a single package could come from multiple sources. Could come from ELPA, it could also come from GNU Geeks, it could come from a Git repository. So we want to have all that information stored separately so that we can sort of maintain it separately and query for it when we need it. So we've got the record types defined for all that, and then we've got our database creation logic, where probably we should be putting this into a SQL file and executing it directly, but for now we're just doing sort of raw SQL queries. Cool thing about this was that during the streams when we were working on these schemas, we were actually using the REPL to interactively develop the schema and do test queries and insertions against those. So we were able to do some REPL-driven development in Guile to build this stuff up interactively, which is great. We also created some procedures for interacting directly with the database, like querying for packages, reading individual package details, inserting package authors. So we have to do some inserts across various tables to make sure that all the information stays up to date so that we will eventually be able to do join queries to put together things like, let's say we have a package and then there could be authors of a package, but there could be one author can be an author of many packages, and one package can have multiple authors. So we've had to design a database schema that has an intermediate relation table. So you can see we have the packages table we're creating here. We also have the package author table, which stores the details about a particular package author. Then there's a package authors table, which sort of sits in between, that just sort of maps the packages table to the package author table so that we can get all that information. Haven't written the queries for that yet to get that, to join them together and use them, but that will be probably next week. What else do we have here? Just general CRUD operations for inserting packages. Also, I think we have something for deleting a package, also setting a package name. So just general interaction with a SQLite 3 database from within Guile scheme. Definitely check out this this file here. It's in the emacs-packages.com repo under /source site models package.sem. If you want to find the source code for that, check out the link in the description below. You can sort of just see some examples of how you would actually use SQLite from within Guile Scheme, which is kind of exciting. Let's see, what else did we do? So we synced all the package archives from GNU ELPA, non-GNU ELPA. Had some help from Trev. Thanks, Trev, for fixing up some of the work that we did to make sure that those things get synced correctly, because there is a little bit of variance in how the information is stored in those package archives. So I have to do a little bit of sanitization of the information. So Trev helped out with that. Then on Monday, we did more of the fleshing out of the data model. We've already shown some of that work, but this is sort of a progressive process over the last week. So we fleshed out the schemas and we added that sort of join table that we were talking about just before. And then today what we did was we tried to improve the design of the code base by splitting out a lot of the code that we had just written in one main.scm file into separate modules. There were a couple reasons for this. One is that we want to have a script to synchronize all the information from the package repositories, either by deleting the existing database that we have or later eventually overwriting or sort of merging the information into the database that we already have. But we want to have that be a script that can be run separately and not as part of the program, so that you don't have to run that like at startup basically for your web server. So we added a new scripts folder, and we have a sync archives.scm file. And this file is actually treated as a script. It has the shebang line at the top that you might be able to see here to run Guile, set the load path appropriately, and call into a main function. And then this will take care of the process of creating initializing the database, and then synchronizing from the package sources that we have asked for. Right now, only the two ELPA archives that we're looking at the moment. But then we pull that stuff in. We use a match lambda to then extract the fields of the ELPA package record type that we created as a result of syncing that information. And then we insert those packages directly into our database. So this is sort of the initial step for setting up this website locally for yourself. You need to run the sync archives.scm file script to synchronize the archives into your local database. And then you can use the new start server script under the scripts folder to then load up the site server module that we created today, and then run start server to start the server to run locally so that you can try that out. So if I go back into ANSI term, I can start up that server. So I'm running it through Geek Shell -m manifest.scm --, and then I'm running the script/start server.scm file. I'm running it directly because it's got an executable bit set on it. And the file itself has a shebang line at the top to tell how to run that script. So this is actually a script that you can execute in a Unix-based system. It says it's listening on localhost. I can go back to the tab for that and then go to the main page. You can see how we've got some CSS set up here. It looks terrible at the moment because it's just, some initial test CSS. I'll talk about that in a moment. But you can click on the package listing and see all the packages here with terrible colors. You can't really see what it says, but we actually do have real package data that's coming from those archives. We see the list of keywords for the packages if they're there. You also see the description of the packages. I think all of those are set at least. And let's search for denote here. So we can look for the denote package. I can click on that package and then go to a details page that says details for denote. Only says the description right now, but that's stuff we're going to fill in next week as we start to flesh out our querying against the database, and then building out the UI for the website to display this in a more appealing and useful way. And then later on, we'll be able to start adding some more interactivity where people can start adding tips for packages. Maybe you probably need to set up an account for yourself on the site so that you can add tips, and then also say which packages that you use in your own configuration. So we're making a lot of progress. I feel like we're going to have something useful pretty soon, and then we'll get into the business of deploying the site to a server using GNU Geeks. Last thing I wanted to mention is that CSS generation code. We did a stream on System Crafters Live a couple weeks ago where we wrote some code for generating CSS from an S expression, almost like SXML. So that code is now checked into the project at a very basic level. Had to make a couple tweaks on it to make sure that everything worked today, but we have the ability to do SCSS to CSS. And then you can see an example here where I'm actually generating and caching the CSS that I want to use in the site. This is really terrible. This is not a good code pattern, but it's what I use just to get it working right now. So we generate and cache the CSS string, and then we've added an extra handler in our server handler to then say that whenever anybody requests the assets/site.css file, let's just give that rendered CSS, render it the first time it's requested, and then return the cached version from that point forward. So that's the strategy we'll go for now, but we're going to change that as time goes on so that we can dynamically update the CSS while the server is running, and then we can do some experimentation. So maybe next time we could try to do some of that sort of live hacking of the templates and CSS. That might be pretty fun, actually. So I'm pretty happy with the progress we've made in the last week. Hopefully this has been interesting to you to follow along with. Leave notes in the comments, ask questions about the project. Definitely follow the live streams. That's Monday and Wednesday mornings, at least my time, at 7:30 a.m. UTC. So you'll have to find what time that is in your local time zone. But if you're awake and conscious, let's say, and able to understand someone talking about code at that hour of the day, please come join, because it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of good questions, and I think that the people who are here having a good time too. So join, follow along, and I'll certainly let you know more about what we do with the project as time goes on. And until next time, happy hacking. We'll see you.